Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Terry Hopton. She is the writer and director of Dead Serious About Life, coming to Louisville. What dates, Terry?
We will be there June 11th, which is a Saturday, and June the 12th, which is a Sunday. The Saturday show is at 6 p.m., and the Sunday show is at 3 p.m.
And we said Louisville, but where specifically will you be performing?
We will be at Louisville Middle School.
Okay, and middle school students are okay for this?
Absolutely.
All right, and cost involved?
Tickets are $6 if you get them in advance, and $7 at the door.
Okay, and I think you have a special, right, through the Light?
Yes. We have our sponsoring churches in the area are giving away complimentary tickets to students that are at risk, possibly students that can't afford to buy a ticket, things like that. So I believe they could contact your station if they are in need of any of those complimentary tickets.
All right, let me give that number, 330-492-9590. That's 330-492-9590, and ask for BJ, and she will take care of you. How many people can get, do you happen to know what the size of the audience is going to be?
I think we can seat approximately 400 people each show.
Okay, good.
So it's a fairly large facility. We've had some shows where I've had to ask adults to give up their seat for a student, but we don't hesitate to do that if that's necessary.
Oh, my. It just sounds like such an amazing undertaking, such important work. Tell us a little bit more about the play itself and some of these characters that we're going to meet.
Right. There are 16 main characters. One of the characters, Zach, is the typical athlete whose parents really push him, to succeed in life and play basketball. And so you see that play out in the party where he is actually talking about his relationship with his parents and his dad especially. There's another character, Emily, who is invited to the party as a joke. And she is made fun of and bullied at the party. At the very end of the show, she actually goes off and, gets the guts to speak up and really just speaks her mind to the kids that were at the party. There's another character that's struggling with an eating disorder. Another character that is pregnant that hasn't told her boyfriend or anybody else, and she tells one of her friends at the party. One of the characters, Sarah, she is the Christian girl that is at the party who doesn't drink, etc., but she struggles with cutting, and that comes out. And then one of the characters, Andrew, is the one who commits suicide. He finds out before the party that his dad's been having an affair and that his parents are probably getting a divorce as a result, and he's doing poorly in school because of it. And then at the party, his girlfriend tells him that she's pregnant. And so at that point, he just checks out and he says, I'm done, and commits suicide. And so after the suicide, you'll hear the 911 call from the house. And then the next scene is the actual funeral scene where there is a youth minister there who begins to share with the kids about how do you pick up the pieces of your life and about a relationship with a man named Jesus.
Yes, please tell us this has a happy ending.
Yes. Well, it was really funny. When we wrote it originally, I wanted everybody to live happily ever after and, have 2.5 kids and go to Bible college and become missionaries.
Sure, why not?
And the Christian psychologist that read the script said, you did really well until the end. But everybody can't live happily ever after. That's not real life. And so some of the characters accept the message and some reject it. We actually show at the end of the show what happens to each one of the main characters 5 years later. And some as direct choices that they made in high school affect, the rest of their life. So you can go full circle. If you identify with a particular character, you kind of go full circle in the show and seeing what happens with them down the road.
Yeah.
So, and then at the very end of the show, our students sit on the edge of the stage, and 3 of our students share their real-life story. This is where I was, this is where I've been, and this is where I'm going. And give the kids in the audience an opportunity to go back and talk to somebody about what they're struggling with.
It reminds me of a couple of movies. I'm thinking Breakfast Club. I'm even thinking Carrie there for a little while.
Well, we when we were writing the show, we watched Breakfast Club, we watched Pretty in Pink, we watched a lot of those movies just to kind of get inspired, just to. And then we spent a lot of time interviewing our students and actually, tell us about the kids you go to school with, tell us about what goes on at a party, the type of alcohol that's there. Tell me about the sex at a party. Tell me about the drugs. Pretty painful interviews to listen to
That'd be hard.
and listen to the kids.
Oh, my.
But we wanted to make the show real life. That's why a lot of adults that sit through the show have a really hard time with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have some adults that come to the show and say, oh, my goodness, that was me 25 years ago.
And it seems, Terry, that it's important for adults to go so that they have this a basis to be able to talk about these things then with students afterwards. This
Right.
sounds like something that needs to be talked about afterwards. You don't just go see this and then go get ice cream.
Exactly. I always tell parents, if you're going to come with your kids, but sit in a different place in the auditorium. Don't sit right next to your kids. Give them that freedom, to kind of react or cry or whatever they want to do. We had a young man that came to the show, and he had talked about killing himself, and he was going to do it by breathing in chlorine gas while he slept at night.
Oh.
And the night he was going to kill himself, his mom said to him, hey, we're going to go to this play with the youth group. And they just happened to be coming to see Dead Serious About Life. And the young man said, as he watched the show, he said, I wanted to cry, but I couldn't because my mom was sitting right next to me.
Yeah.
And he said at the end, I wanted to go back into the listening room, but I couldn't because my mom was sitting right next to me. And he said, I wanted to do all these things, but I couldn't. But what he did after the show is he went and sought out his youth pastor and said, I need help. And got help from him, mentored him for over a year, and he eventually ended up auditioning to be a part of our group and traveled with us for several years.
Wow. And then he was able to share his story
Exactly.
with future audiences.
Exactly.
Talking to Terry Hopton. She's the writer and director of Dead Serious About Life. His story, Terry, intrigues me because it seems to me someone who's reached that low of a low, someone saying, hey, let's go see this play at a youth group, that would be too far of a way to go from point A to point B. Unless, of course, God's involved and he wants you there, he will move from the inside out. But do you have suggestions on how to say to that person who you think will not want to come but needs to be there, help us market this to them?
Well, some kids, we don't even tell them it's a Christian production.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even tell them that. So it's just a matter of, if you're really struggling with something in your life, come see the show.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm. This will be about what you're going through. Boy. All right. Now, we want to review this, that we do have tickets available for people who are at-risk kids, that we don't want in any way for this to be cost prohibitive, even though it is, remind us, $6 in advance, $7 at the door.
Right.
And June 11th and 12th at Louisville Middle School.
Exactly.
Call this number if you know someone that needs to be there and you think there might be a financial difficulty, or for sure you're going for unchurched students, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
But it does have a great message for even Christian kids that are struggling. It'll put a fire under their behinds.
Yeah, there's nothing that says Christian kids aren't going through rough things.
Exactly.
330-492-9590. Again, that number is 330-492-9590. Got just a couple of minutes left, and Terry, I'm intrigued with the impact that this play has had on people who see it. I'm also intrigued with the impact it's had on people who are involved with it. Let's start with you personally. The most amazing things that you've seen come from it, and how important this is for you to be involved.
Well, for me, I've had students come to the show, and I had one girl, she had tried to kill herself 14 times.
Oh.
And her parents looked at me and said, we've taken her to every counselor. We don't know what to do. And so I ended up meeting with this girl for an entire year, and she's now happily married and has 3 kids and doing great, plugged into their church, and is doing awesome.
Wow.
So those kind of stories I see all the time. For I think the students in the play, being a part of it, I think, they're constantly around other students that are struggling. And so they at least have a better understanding of the signs of suicide and what to watch for and, when to get somebody else involved as far as getting help for somebody and things like that.
Mm-hmm. What's the most important thing you've learned that a person should be aware of? What are some flags and some tells for, let's say, someone not able to make it to the play but is extremely concerned about a friend or loved one?
Change in pattern, like excessive drinking, excessive drug use, pulling away from people, talking about death, being obsessed with death. I watch a lot of kids' Facebook pages or social media posts.
Yeah.
You can tell a lot there. I just made a call to a school a couple weeks ago about a girl's Facebook post that concerned me. And I called the school counselor and said, you need to be on this.
And I think a lot of times parents feel like, I need to give them their space. I shouldn't be stalking. But if it's out there on Facebook, that's almost a cry for help, right?
It is. It is a cry for help. And a lot of parents that I've even approached are like, oh, there's not a problem. And I'm like, there's a problem. This is screaming, I don't like myself. I hate my life. I want to die. It's crazy.
There's that point that, there's teenage angst, and there's the things, the ups and downs, and the high highs and the low lows of just being an adolescent. For one thing, your hormones are a little off, a little wacky, and you are just, entering into adulthood through a little bit of turmoil. High school can't be a happy place for everyone. And where's the difference between that? That's just, going through those teenage years where you're pretty much still on an even keel. And what you're talking about, which is so much darker.
I think when you really see a real drastic change in behavior, complete pulling away, in their room, isolation a lot, and then parents need to pay attention to social media. If they don't know their kids' passwords, they need them.
Yes.
They need to be able to be checking them, knowing what's going on, having conversations with their kids' friends. They need to be involved in their world.
Important work that you're doing. It's called Dead Serious About Life. We've been speaking with Terry Hobbiton. Want to remind you that this will be June 11th and 12th at Louisville Middle School. $6 in advance, $7 at the door. How do they get tickets in advance, Terry?
You can call our office, which is 1-800-459-7268, or you can go to our website and order tickets online. Our website is www.mish-inc.com.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning on Our Community.
Thank you.